Okay, so as a starting point, I had a scrap piece of dark brown linen that was very nice but too small to do anything with, right? And so I cut two of the biggest squares I could out of it, and those were just shy of 10 inches by 10 inches, right? Which, if you have a gigantic noggin like I do, might be a little on the small side, depending on how you trim it. But if you have a normal size human head, then 10 inches by 10 inches seems perfectly reasonable. And so, what did I do? Oh, there were two squares, and I kind of, lobbed the corner off for the back top of the head, right? And sewed the two pieces together and started putting moss on things because I like moss. Just random tiny stitches. That's a wonderful feeling, right? So I've got these, and okay, so there's this color, which is an actual thread, and then there's three embroidery floss colors. Do you see them? That one's brighter, lighter, a little bit darker, and then I'll keep adding variety because here, this one's all one color. See them next to each other? To me, I like this a lot better. I'll especially like it even more when I get one shade lighter and maybe two shades darker. Alright, I am bored with moss. It takes a minute to do, and I'll have plenty of a chance to come back to it later, right? So now, let's do another of these turkey tail mushrooms, because I really love the look of shelf fungus in this context. As you can see, in this case, we're doing just a scrap of linen that matches what's under all these stitches, although that's not necessary. And I could round it out with scissors, but then I'd have loose edges to contend with. And also, if it's thicker at the edges, that's more stability, right? In theory. So yeah, you have the idea. And then that leads to making these, which let's just say that part of the point and the joy of them is the irregularity. Makes them look more natural, right? And hold on a sec. This piece, which has its own video, also has turkey tails that are much smaller and much messier. I thought I would come back to these and finish coloring them in after they were on the hat. That was a lie. I'm pretty sure you want to go ahead and get them so you're happy with them before you make it, so you'd be stitching at an awkward angle. But these honestly look great from normal human viewing distance, and you can see they are not the same as the underlying color, and they are very spotty, which just adds to their bracket fungus appeal. So we'll see how they look when I do it this way with me. So I don't know. Embroidery goes about as fast as you'd expect, which is to say not at all. You can see why I went with the skimpier coverage on the last set of turkey tails. But well, when they're loose, I like this set much better. We'll see once they're on whether I think it's a good use of time, and you, of course, will decide for yourself just how full coverage you want your embroidery to be. Now, the thing about these is, for me at least, the part you need the be the most careful on, most control over, is the palest part. Now if you're doing some kind of like gothic poison garden hat, then it wouldn't be white necessarily, and it might be purple or red, but the palest part to me is what stands out and therefore makes it more or less convincing. And we are finishing this last one up. Yay! Now, I'm not going to get into how I'm trying to stitch them to the hat itself, because I'm using the very artistic method of just keep stitching and hope for the best, right? Very in character. And so we're not wading into that. Whatever you come up with will be just as good as what I do. But I will say that, all right, hat in question. Let's see, there's a gap. There's a gap here where I guess I would have put a lot of moss, but instead I crammed another turkey tail in. But I will say that if you like take and sew it down and then sew it down, going the other way and up again, right? Like you'd do for those brick walls that wiggle back and forth to support themselves, then things stick out some, but not too much without requiring too much engineering. So that's nice. So I was sewing more moss and trying to blend in the base of the turkey tail, the shelf fungus. And I was pouting because I cannot figure out, I cannot visualize how I'm going to create lichen in this medium. And I really want lichen. So, I don't know, there's a couple things I'm turning over in my head and none of them are quite right. And I mean, I'm not going to know if they're quite right even until I do them. But it occurred to me that this isn't just about texture, right? This is about depth too. And so I could poke a hole in the shell here, because I'm going to have to line this thing anyway, obviously, and make there be something underneath the shell. I don't know what exactly. Little holes full of water reflecting the sky, maybe, abstractly, kind of. But it's definitely a change in texture and shininess, which is nice, and also the depth thing. And I feel very proud of myself for thinking of trying to find an embroidery floss in the color that more or less matches the linen. Got lucky there. I found this at the secondhand shop a while back, and so now there's lots of options. And then when I find more embroidery floss at the secondhand shop, I'll be able to just plug it back into that. Now, of course, I got a knot. There we go. I was babbling anyway. So, yeah, depth, more texture. Also, part of the appeal with this is I'm putting these towards the back and the top of the hat, because I learned on my last one that you do not want too much weight on the back of it, or else it will try and slip off your little bitty head, right? And that's no fun. You don't want to have to be fussing with your clothes. So there's probably a better way to sew holes with folded back edges, but I don't know it. So we're just winging it like everything else. Hey, Opal, you want to come over here? Huh? Baby want a treat? Oh, there we go. Not gonna lie, the moss takes a minute, but I get bored with it, I go do something else, and I come back. And also, The fact that it takes a minute means that I have plenty of time to make very considered, very organic shapes, and that's nice. Started some beading on the moss on the other side. Look how wonderful and touchable and heavy it is. It's wonderful. But at the moment, I decided that a little beetle, probably several little beetles once it's all said and done, started at the bottom of the hat and chewed its way up, meandering along the side of it. So let's make sparkles out of beetle chew marks, because this side of the hat looked rather empty. I wasn't sure what to do with it. Okay. Once upon a time, I bought just little bags of beads from the secondhand shop that were all mixed up together, that somebody, I don't know, muddled and then got tired of and gave away, and I wasn't sure what I wanted yet, and so I got them. And honestly, I don't even like the little opaque beads, but it's okay because there's a use for everything, and I've discovered that I do like the little opaque beads if they're all mixed together and there's some variety in there. Nope, not that red one. Not that much variety. That much variety. And so, this is me doing my usual, haphazard, casual approach to creating. And, ooh, big one. And it's a look, and it is a look that I like, and goodness knows it's easy. There are a lot of really beautiful, organized, disciplined ways to do beading, and I do not know any of them, right? And maybe someday I'll learn, and that'll be awesome. But right now, we are, sparkly one, exploiting the waste stream and having fun and creating really dense mats of color and texture variation, which is something I really enjoy. Makes me happy. So, at first things look kind of empty, and then they get denser and denser, and you end up with something like this, which is weighty and drapey and petable. And that's lovely. Another thing is that nothing I'm doing with this hat is like particularly skilled or challenging work. You can totally do this. Absolutely, if you want to, even if you've never done any of this stuff before. And it is devilishly time consuming. But where are you? There's another one. But absolutely doable. And that's a lovely feeling, creating something. Yes? In case you haven't noticed, I like the shiny beads too. I always want to incorporate the shiny. There we go. You know, we might be just about done with the embroidery floss portion of the moss. I'm as shocked as you are. This is just on the back where I can't put the beads because I don't want the weight back here, right? So I'm adding, I don't know, I guess this light color would be highlights on the moss. And also I was laughing at myself because, of course, last video I pointed out that I've never separated embroidery floss down. I've always just used it whole as I find it because I was too lazy to separate it. And then in this video I probably start separating it down into singles. Made a liar of myself, and I hate to admit it because it's a little annoying to separate. I mean, I'm getting used to it, but it's still a little annoying. Why do they sell it like that? I don't know. Anyway, I hate to admit it, but it's worth it. The texture is much better this way. Also, you don't have to use a gargantuan needle, so that part's nice too. There you go. Look at that nice bright green. Since it's so stupid and gray outside today. So the hat exists, and it's about the same size as a piece of scrap light green linen it is sewn, well, hacked off awkwardly at the back and sewn together, and now we're going to sew it inside as the liner, because obviously that is not the inside of the hat. Pippin, what is it? What do you want? Whoa! And then there's a Opal. Opal says, "Get that light out of my face, woman." Yeah? Is that what the Opal said? Does somebody want a treat? Alright, so we know I do kind of a more is more thing. And so my idea is to take the lining and wrap it just a little bit around the outside of, around the shell. And then do another band of brown. And then I'm adding like depth or detail or something. Alright, you can see how quickly this is going. But, look how much cooler the moss looks now. Like, grow in out of the cracks. Yeah. So that's kind of awesome. And also we're hiding all of the stitchery on the inside. On the one hand, if I had a actual plan or training or anything like that, these projects would not be nearly so interesting and I wouldn't learn nearly as much. On the other, do you see the lichen? I was convinced I would come up with a brilliant lichen plan, and I just did not. But I wanted my lichen, so that's what I did. Nothing interesting technique-wise there. Sure, I'd have an idea sometime during all that other stuff. Nope. But on the other hand, that looks fan-friggin-tastic, and I want to use it on everything. So this, I cut all of my remaining brown linen into 3 strips, and this one goes around the base of the hat, and the other 2 go around the front of the hat and leave little dangly bits on either side, because you cannot have a hat this shape without dangly bits, now can you? So I'm sewing the front of the hat on, which I guess is the final piece, and I'm thinking it's important to note that, okay, if I had started with I want a moss hat and then had gone out to purchase things for the moss hat, especially if I had been open to purchasing new things, this would be completely different. There's a lot of creativity to be found in, okay, this is what I have, how can I make it say what I want it to say? And yes, I was able to do this from my stash because I've been going to the scrap exchange, a couple times a year forever, and so I accumulate. And that's definitely, accumulating is going to be part of being able to work out of your stash. But I really love that I could take a couple pieces of scrap fabric from other projects and a bunch of waste stream beads and thread and make something cool. It makes me very happy. And so you do not need to feel like you need to go out and buy any of this. I do not know the names of any of these colors. It's whatever you make will be different, and that will be awesome, and it's a good thing. And I sound like I'm failing to be Bob Ross, don't I? Anyway, this particular hat is going to be going to one of my Patreon people next month, so that will be super cool, in case you're after this particular hat, as opposed to just one of your own devising. Come on. There we go. So, I think the ends of the dangly bits might need some beads. I don't know. We'll get it done and then slap it on my kid's head and then decide. Alright, just a tiny bit of this more is more-ness. And then we will film a reveal video. Just a little bitty one. Tomorrow when the sun is up. But this, it's just loops of thread with the beads sewn back in. Then I go up a little ways and add a few more beads. I'm gonna make them thicker towards the end here, so it looks like they're crawling up the hangy down bits. And then we're done. Someone is wonderfully helpful and supportive as always. So there's dangly bits. Other dangly bit. Whoop, slower. The lichen, the turkey tail, the moss out in the sun. If you want further explanation on anything, just let me know. Little beetle tracks, more moss, more moss.
Ow, that was my hair.
I'm sorry. Adorable, helpful child. Who apparently thinks I'm silly. Yes, bye-bye from the bunny oneies, who would like to remind everybody that it is nap time. Isn't that right? By nap time, I mean they're voluntarily in here. Yes, they have the run of the house. Yes, they do.